The orbital station above Ganymede hung silently in space like a silver ring around the moon. On its surface, ships from dozens of different worlds had docked. Inside the wide halls, thousands of beings moved. Humans, aliens with wings, long tails, scales, fur, or strange glowing eyes. This was the biggest diplomatic event in years. The Interstellar Migration Accord was about to be signed. Among the crowd, Eli Grant stood with a wrench in one hand and a tool bag on his shoulder. He wasn't a diplomat. He wasn't a soldier either. He was just a maintenance engineer. His job was to keep the station working. He liked that job. It was quiet. It didn't need speeches or big words. It needed hands that could fix things. That morning, the sprinkler system in the East Corridor had broken again. It kept spraying water where it shouldn't. The maintenance crew had tried to fix it earlier, but something in the wiring kept shorting out. Eli sighed as he opened the panel. It was going to be a long day. The corridor was crowded. Many alien guests were passing through because it was near the central auditorium. Most of them were wearing elegant robes or long travel cloaks. Security robots hovered nearby, making sure nothing went wrong. While Eli worked, he noticed something strange. The floor was wet, puddles forming in corners. The aliens avoided it, but one figure stood alone near the wall. She was small, maybe a little shorter than Eli, with silver blue skin that shimmered like moonlight. Gills fluttered softly on her neck, and thin membranes stretched between her long fingers. She looked fragile, but her big dark eyes were bright and curious. She was drenched. Water ran down her arms and pooled at her feet. She shivered, wrapping her arms around herself. Her clothes, light flowing fabric, stuck to her skin. She wasn't carrying anything. She didn't seem to know what to do. Eli frowned. Something about her posture told him she was uncomfortable. She didn't look like the others. Her clothes were ceremonial, but not as grand as the officials he'd seen. Maybe she was a younger delegate or someone's assistant. He took a step toward her. "Hey," he said softly, keeping his voice calm. She flinched at the sound, turning her wide eyes toward him. Eli raised both hands a little to show he meant no harm. "You okay?" She didn't answer. Of course, she might not understand English. Many alien species needed translators, but her expression spoke louder than words. She was cold and confused. Eli glanced down at the puddles. Then he looked at the small towel hanging from his tool bag. It wasn't much. Just a simple cotton towel used to wipe oil and coolant off machines. But right now it was the only dry thing he had. He hesitated. Maybe giving a random alien a dirty towel was a bad idea. But then again, he couldn't just ignore her. So he slowly pulled the towel from his bag, shook it a little, and offered it to her. "Here," he said gently. "Take it." She blinked at the towel, then at him. For a moment, nothing happened. Then she reached out carefully with both hands, as if accepting a precious object. Her fingers brushed against the cloth. Her skin felt cool, almost like fresh water. The moment she touched it, something strange happened. Her bioluminescent markings, faint lines on her arms and neck, suddenly flared to life, glowing a soft blue-white. Her eyes widened. Her gills fluttered fast. She held the towel close to her chest as if it were a priceless treasure. Eli tilted his head, confused. It's just a towel." But the alien girl dropped to one knee. Not in pain, not in fear, in something that looked like deep respect. Her glowing patterns shifted in waves, moving from her chest to her shoulders like flowing light. Around them, a few alien onlookers gasped. One of them muttered something in a language Eli didn't understand. Security bots drifted closer. Diplomats stopped walking and turned to look. The corridor, once noisy, grew quiet. All because of a simple towel. "Wait, what's going on?" Eli whispered under his breath. A tall alien with ridged golden skin stepped forward. He wore formal robes with silver embroidery, clearly someone important. He spoke to the girl in rapid clicks and tones. She answered softly, clutching the towel tighter. Then the tall alien turned to Eli. "You," he said through a translator unit on his collar. The voice was calm but heavy. "Do you understand what you have done?" Eli blinked. "I gave her a towel?" Murmurs spread through the growing crowd. A human security officer approached Eli from behind. "Grant, what's happening?" she whispered. "I don't know," Eli hissed back. "I just gave her a towel." The tall alien took a step closer, his golden eyes narrowing. "Among the Thalrian people," he said slowly, To offer the gift of drying is to swear the bond of protection. It is a sacred act, one made only to those one is willing to stand beside in all tides and storms. Eli froze. Bond of protection? Sacred act? Tides and storms? That sounded like something way bigger than a simple kindness. The alien girl rose slowly to her feet, still glowing softly. Her gaze met Eli's, steady, unblinking, almost too intense. She pressed the towel to her chest, then spoke for the first time. Her voice was musical, like water flowing over smooth stones. Nera accepts. Eli's stomach dropped. Oh no. Around them, alien delegates whispered to one another. Some looked surprised. Others looked almost alarmed. A few Thalrians bowed their heads respectfully toward Eli. The girl, Nera, stood a little closer now, as if drawn to him by some invisible thread. The human security officer sighed. Grant, I think you just got yourself into something big. Two station officials hurried forward, their faces pale. Mr. Grant, one of them said nervously, you need to come with us now. But I'm supposed to fix the sprinklers, Eli started. Now, the official repeated. Voice sharp. Nera followed as they led Eli down the corridor, ignoring the murmurs behind them. The towel was still in her hands, glowing faintly with reflected light. She never let go of it. They entered a secure briefing room. Cold metal walls, a round table, and a translator orb floating above it. On one side sat 3 human representatives. On the other, 2 Thalrians, including the golden-skinned elder. Nera took the seat beside Eli as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Mr. Grant, said the human delegate, a woman with short black hair and a voice that could cut glass. Do you have any idea what you've just done? Eli raised both hands helplessly. I gave a towel to someone who was wet. The Thalrian elder spoke through the translator again. He has offered the bond of protection to Air Nera of the Tide Line. She has accepted. From this moment, their fates are connected. Air, Eli repeated weakly. She's a princess? Not exactly, the delegate muttered, rubbing her temples. But close enough. Nera is the only daughter of the Thalrian Tide Speaker. She's basically their future leader. Eli felt his heart thump in his chest. You're kidding. I wish I was, she said dryly. This bond isn't just symbolic. It's political. You've just created a direct personal tie between humanity and one of the most powerful water-based civilizations in the sector. And during the migration talks, no less. The elder leaned forward, his expression serious but not unkind. The bond cannot be undone without great dishonor. The Thalrian people will expect you to protect Nera as your own kin, to stand by her side in any storm that comes. Eli stared at him. He was an engineer. He fixed broken doors. He unclogged filters. He wasn't some galactic hero, but Nera turned her head slightly and looked at him again. Her expression was calm now, almost peaceful. In her world, this was something sacred, something safe. She trusted him. I didn't mean... Eli started. She raised one hand gently, stopping his words. Intention is not required. Only heart, she said softly. The translator repeated her words in a clear, musical tone. A strange silence filled the room. It wasn't awkward. It was heavy, like the calm before a storm. The delegate sighed again. Grant, this is going to get complicated. Outside the room, news already spread through the station. Human bonded with Thalrian air. Bond of protection. Sacred vow. Allies or threat? No one knew yet. But everyone was talking. Eli sat back in the chair, feeling the weight of a towel heavier than any tool he'd ever held. This morning, he had just wanted to fix a sprinkler. Now the future of human-Thalrian relations rested on his shoulders, and Nera, the glowing alien girl with the calm eyes, smiled faintly at him, as if she already knew. Their story had only just begun. The news traveled through the orbital station faster than light ever could. By the next morning, everyone was talking about the human who had offered a towel to the Thalrian heir. Technicians whispered about it over coffee. Security guards traded rumors in the docking bay. Diplomats debated it in private meeting rooms. Some said it was a miracle. Some said it was a disaster. A few said it was a clever human plan, but Eli Grant knew the truth. It wasn't a plan at all. It was just kindness. Eli sat in a quiet lounge on Deck 12 staring at a small cup of cold tea. The towel incident had changed everything. He had been moved out of his maintenance quarters and placed in a temporary diplomatic suite. He wasn't allowed back to his usual work. Station officials had told him to stay available in case of talks with the Thalrian delegation. The room felt too big for him. The bed was too soft. The walls were too clean. Eli missed the smell of oil, the sound of machines, and the comfort of being invisible. A soft chime at the door made him jump. "Come in," he said. The door opened with a smooth hiss. Nara stepped inside, her light blue skin glowing faintly in the soft lights. She wore a silver robe with thin threads of flowing water running down its edges, a symbol of Thalrian nobility. Her eyes, dark and calm, rested on him. She didn't walk like someone important. She walked quietly, almost like water flowing around stones. A small translator orb floated beside her. "May I sit?" Nara asked. Eli nodded quickly. Of course. She sat down across from him. For a moment, neither spoke. The hum of the station filled the silence. "You look worried," Nara said finally. Eli gave a tired laugh. Worried might be an understatement. "You did not sleep?" "No," he admitted. "Hard to sleep when half the station is talking about you." Nara tilted her head slightly, studying him. "Humans are not used to sacred bonds." Eli rubbed the back of his neck. "Not like this. On Earth, if you give someone a towel, it's just, being nice, not a political event." Her lips curved into something like a smile. "Among Thalrians, the towel means more than warmth. It means trust. To give it without being asked, that is a sign of open heart," he sighed. "I didn't even think. I just saw someone who needed help." "That is why the bond is true," Nara said softly. Eli looked at her glowing markings, soft streams of light that moved like waves under her skin. They were beautiful but also intimidating. They meant he was tied to something far bigger than himself. Later that day, Eli was escorted to a conference room on the upper diplomatic floor. It was shaped like a ring with glass windows that looked out over the endless black of space. Around the table sat officials from many species, tall, short, glowing, scaled, or covered in feathers. At the far end, the Thalrian delegation sat together, their robes flowing like living water. The Thalrian Tide Speaker himself had joined via holoprojector, a towering figure of calm authority. The human side was led by Ambassador Lila Haynes, a sharp, serious woman who had spent years negotiating interstellar treaties. She had already told Eli twice to speak carefully. The meeting began with soft, formal greetings. Then the Tide Speaker's image turned to Eli. "Eli Grant," the deep, flowing voice said through the translator. "You performed the bond of protection with Air Nara. Do you understand what this means?" Eli swallowed. All eyes turned to him. "I understand a little," he said carefully. "I know it's sacred to your people. I didn't mean to disrespect it." "There was no disrespect," the Tide Speaker replied. "The bond cannot be faked." Nara accepted it with open heart. "From now on, our destinies are linked." Some of the alien representatives murmured to each other. Ambassador Haynes cleared her throat. "With respect, Tide Speaker, we recognize the cultural importance of this bond. But Eli Grant is not a government official. He is a civilian engineer. His act was personal, not political." "Among our people," the Tide Speaker answered calmly, "a bond is never personal. A bond ties our tides together. Where one flows, the other follows." The air grew heavier. The Thalrians were not angry, but they were serious. Another alien delegate, a feathered creature from a desert world, leaned forward. "So humanity is now tied to Thalria?" he asked sharply. "This changes the power balance." Murmurs grew louder. The migration accord was meant to bring peace between dozens of species. But if two species suddenly became bonded allies, others might feel threatened. Eli's heart pounded. He hadn't meant for any of this. But now the towel wasn't just a towel. It was a symbol everyone was watching. After the meeting, Eli and Nara walked together down the long glass corridor that overlooked space. He kept his hands in his pockets, head down. Nara walked beside him quietly, as if listening to the hum of the station's walls. "You are angry," Nara said softly. Eli shook his head. "Not angry, just overwhelmed. I fix machines, Nara. I don't make treaties. I don't stand in front of ambassadors." She turned her glowing eyes toward him. "But you gave your towel without fear. That was different. Why?" Eli opened his mouth, then closed it again. She had a point. When he saw her cold and soaked in the corridor, he hadn't hesitated. But standing in front of powerful people, that terrified him. You are braver than you think, she said gently. Sometimes courage is not in shouting. It is in quiet hands that help. Eli didn't know how to answer that, but he couldn't help a small smile. That evening, the station grew restless. The diplomatic talks were supposed to start the next day, but rumors were already spreading of problems. Some species didn't like the new human-Thalrian bond. They feared it gave one side more influence. Inside the Thalrian section of the station, Nayra prepared for the first ceremony. Her attendants moved around her like flowing water, adjusting her robes and shining the blue patterns on her skin. She stood still, calm but thoughtful. One of her elders approached. You trust the human? Yes, Nayra said without hesitation. He is not like us. He is not trained. He is kind, Nayra answered, and kindness is stronger than training. The elder looked doubtful, but he did not argue further. Meanwhile, in the human section, Eli sat alone in his room. He looked out the window at the stars. He had always loved space, and not for politics, but for its silence. Space didn't care who you were. It was big, endless, and calm. He thought about Nayra, about the way her glowing markings pulsed softly when she spoke, about the way she said courage is in quiet hands. The doorbell rang again. When he opened it, Ambassador Haynes was standing there with 2 security officers. Grant, we need to talk, she said firmly. She stepped inside and looked him in the eyes. Listen carefully. Not everyone is happy about this bond. Some delegates think we planned it. They think Earth wants to control the migration treaty. Eli frowned. But we didn't, I know. But politics isn't about what's true. It's about what people believe. She leaned closer. There are whispers about sabotage. Someone wants the treaty to fail. If they can make your bond look like a trick, they'll use it. Eli felt a chill run down his spine. What do I do? For now, Haynes said, you stay close to Nayra. The Thalrians trust you. That's useful, and you're under protection now, just in case. The next morning, the opening ceremony of the Migration Accord filled the Grand Hall. Thousands of beings gathered under a massive dome of glass. Stars sparkled beyond the transparent ceiling. Flags of different civilizations hung from the walls. Eli stood near the Thalrian delegation, wearing a simple black suit that felt too tight. Nayra stood beside him in her ceremonial robe, her light shining like soft waves. She looked calm. He felt like he was about to faint. As the speeches began, Eli scanned the crowd nervously. Diplomats spoke of unity, migration, peace. But he could feel it. Not everyone believed it. Some eyes were cold. Some whispered. He leaned closer to Nayra. Are you sure I belong here? Yes, she said softly. Where I stand, you stand. Her voice was steady. And strangely, that made him steady too. But peace never comes easily. In the middle of the ceremony, the lights flickered. A strange vibration ran through the floor. A few delegates looked around nervously. Nayra's glowing markings brightened slightly. She turned her head sharply. Something is wrong, she whispered. Eli felt it too. A low hum, like the sound of machines straining against their limits. He had spent years on stations. He knew when something wasn't right. Ambassador Haynes rushed to their side. We're getting alerts, she said. Unusual power drains near the outer rings. Sabotage? Eli asked. Maybe, or worse. Security teams began moving quietly through the hall. The ceremony continued. Diplomats tried to keep calm. But Eli could see it in their eyes. Fear. Nayra looked at him, calm but firm. This is what the bond means, she said. When storms come, we stand together. Eli took a deep breath. He wasn't a soldier, but he wasn't going to walk away either. That night, tension filled the station like thick fog. Security teams checked every system. Ambassadors held emergency meetings. Rumors spread. Someone was trying to break the accord before it even began. In her chamber, Nayra sat with Eli by a pool of water. Her voice was quiet, almost like a song. In Thalrian stories, she said, bonds are tested in storms. If they hold, they become unbreakable. If they break, they sink into the dark. Eli listened, the soft sound of water calming his racing thoughts. I didn't ask for this, he said honestly. I know, Nayra answered, but sometimes the tide chooses us, and we choose how to swim. The stars above Ganymede's orbital station looked calm and endless. But inside the great dome of the Migration Accord, nothing was calm anymore. The lights flickered for the second time. A strange low hum filled the hall like a heartbeat. Delegates shifted uneasily in their seats. Security drones floated toward the exits, their sensors blinking red. Eli Grant stood beside Nara, watching as technicians whispered to each other. He didn't understand every signal code they used, but he had worked on stations long enough to know when something serious was happening. The power drain was spreading across the outer ring. If it continued, the life support systems would be affected, and if those failed during a summit with hundreds of alien leaders, panic would spread like wildfire. Ambassador Lila Haynes appeared beside them, face pale but steady. "Someone has planted something in the lower engineering decks," she said quietly. "We've locked down most of the corridors, but we can't find the source." Eli frowned. "Lower engineering deck? That's where the backup power links run." "Exactly," she said. "And if they're cut, the whole station goes dark." Nara's glowing patterns brightened, her gills fluttering. She looked at Eli. "We must stop the storm before it reaches the shore." Eli exhaled slowly. He was not a soldier, but he was an engineer, and the lower decks were his territory. "Take me there," he said. The hall behind them was slowly filling with quiet fear. Diplomats spoke in hushed tones, unsure of what was happening. Some demanded answers. Others blamed each other. The fragile peace that the accord represented felt like a thin sheet of glass, but Eli wasn't listening to the noise anymore. He followed Ambassador Haynes and Nara down a side corridor. Two security officers walked ahead, scanning for danger. The hum of the station grew louder the deeper they went. The lights flickered again. Nara walked at his side, her steps soft but sure. "You're not afraid," she said. "Oh, I'm very afraid," Eli admitted. "Then why do you walk forward?" He thought for a moment. "Because someone has to fix it." Her glowing markings pulsed softly like waves. "That is what courage is." When they reached the engineering deck, the air felt colder. The walls were lined with thick pipes and cables. Eli knew this place well. He had repaired those circuits many times, but now some panels were open, wires pulled out. The soft blue glow of the power conduits had turned into a worrying orange. A group of technicians stood near the main power junction, panic in their eyes. "We can't stop the drain," one of them said. "Something's locked into the core. It's spreading." Eli stepped forward. "Let me see." The technicians hesitated for a second, then made way. Eli knelt down beside the exposed junction. He ran his fingers along the wires, feeling the vibration through the metal. Someone had attached an external control node. It was small but powerful, designed to force the energy loops open and drain them into nowhere. If left alone, it would shut down the oxygen systems within an hour. Nara crouched beside him, watching every movement. Her glowing skin reflected off the metal like soft starlight. "Can you stop it?" Ambassador Haynes asked. Eli didn't answer right away. He studied the node carefully. "I think so, but it's tricky. Whoever did this." "They knew the station's systems." Nara tilted her head. "Then we must know them better." For the next several minutes, Eli worked with quiet focus. His hands moved quickly over the wires, bypassing traps and decoys. Nara stood close, listening to the strange rhythm of the machine as if it were alive. Then she placed her hand gently on the metal floor. Her glowing markings brightened. "I can feel the flow," she whispered. "It is like water rushing down a tunnel, fast, but it can be redirected." Eli blinked at her. "You can feel it?" She nodded. "Thalrians are born near the deep currents. Energy moves like water. It sings," Eli grinned despite the situation. "Then sing with me." She smiled faintly, and together they began to work. Eli guided the wires, Nara traced the hidden energy lines, and slowly, the draining pattern began to reveal itself, like a secret map. He realized it wasn't just sabotage. It was carefully designed to look like a system error. Whoever planted it wanted the humans to take the blame. Ambassador Haynes whispered to a security officer. This was planned. But Eli didn't stop. His hands were fast, steady. The hum grew louder, but his heart beat steadier. Finally, he saw it. The main trigger line. It was buried under 3 layers of shielded cable. One wrong cut and the whole system would fail. But if he disconnected it correctly, the drain would stop. "Eli," Nara said softly, "the tide is pulling hard." "I know," he said, "but we're going to turn it around." He took a deep breath, then gently twisted the final connector. The hum reached a sharp peak and then stopped. The light steadied. The orange glow turned blue again. The power drain vanished. Technicians let out a collective breath. Ambassador Haynes touched her earpiece. Control confirmed stabilization. Life support is secure. Eli leaned back, wiping sweat from his forehead. Told you. Just a loose wire, he joked weakly. Nayra's glowing markings pulsed brightly, full of warmth. You have calmed the storm. Eli met her eyes. We calmed it together. But even as relief spread, Nayra's gaze turned thoughtful. Someone caused this, she said. Someone who wished to break the accord. Haynes nodded grimly. Yes, and whoever it was wanted to make it look like humans were involved. The timing was perfect. If the power had failed during the ceremony, panic would have turned everyone against each other. Eli frowned. So what now? Now, Nayra said softly. We stand before the tide and show them the truth. The emergency broadcast system was activated across the entire station. Delegates were instructed to return to the Grand Hall. The leaders of many worlds gathered once again beneath the glass dome. This time there was no ceremonial music, no polite smiles. The air was tense and cold. Eli stood near Nayra at the center of the floor. Ambassador Haynes addressed the assembly. Honored delegates, she began, her voice steady. A sabotage attempt targeted the station's power system. It was designed to break our trust in one another and destroy the migration accord before it even began. Murmurs filled the room. Nayra stepped forward, the lights in the hall reflecting off her glowing skin. It was not the humans, she said clearly, her voice carrying through the translator orb. I stood beside Eli Grant as he worked. His hands repaired what others tried to break. His heart did not bend to fear. He stood where many would have run. The hall grew quiet. Dozens of eyes turned toward Eli. He wasn't wearing a uniform. He had no medals, no title, just a simple black jacket and tired eyes. But he stood tall. Eli swallowed, then took a step forward. I'm not a diplomat. I don't make speeches, he said. But I fix things. And when Nayra needed help, I gave her a towel. When the station needed help, I gave it my hands. That's what humans do. We fix what's broken. His voice was simple, but it carried weight. Nayra placed her hand over her heart, the traditional Thalrian gesture of loyalty. The bond we share is not a trick, she said. It is a promise. Humanity and Thalria stand together, not in power but in trust. The murmurs changed. Not whispers of suspicion now, but something warmer. The Tide Speaker's massive image flickered above them. His deep voice filled the hall. A bond tested in storm is a bond that does not break. Thalria stands with humanity. One by one, other delegates slowly nodded. Even those who had doubted before seemed moved. The sabotage had failed not because of armies or weapons, but because a single human and an alien girl chose to act together. Hours later, the signing of the migration accord finally took place. Leaders from different worlds stepped forward one by one. The treaty would allow free migration between worlds, shared research and cooperation. It was more than politics. It was a promise for a better future. Eli stood off to the side, tired but smiling. Nayra stood beside him wearing a ceremonial necklace of shimmering blue shells. When her name was called, she stepped forward to sign for Thalria. Then the human ambassador turned to Eli. You should stand with her, she whispered. Eli blinked. Me? Yes, you are part of this now, whether you like it or not. Eli laughed softly, then walked to Nayra's side. Together, they placed their hands on the glowing treaty pad. A symbol appeared above them, the Thalrian crest and the human emblem. Side by side, the crowd erupted in quiet, respectful applause. Later that night, Eli and Nayra sat in the quiet observation deck watching the stars. The noise of the crowd was far away now. Only the gentle hum of the station remained. You saved many lives today, Nayra said softly. Eli shook his head. We both did. She looked at him, the soft glow of her markings reflecting in the glass. When I was a child, I was told stories about humans. We thought you were loud, reckless, always reaching for things that are not yours. Eli raised an eyebrow. And now? She smiled. Now I know you also give towels to strangers. He laughed, a real laugh this time. Nayra turned serious again. This bond, it will not be easy. The tides are strong, but I am glad it was with you, Eli nodded. Me too. For a moment they sat in silence, staring at the endless stars. Two people from different worlds, tied together by a simple act of kindness that changed everything. The Migration Accord would go down in history as the moment the galaxy started to trust humanity. And at the center of it all was a towel, a bond, and a quiet engineer who decided to help.